Nora divorced her husband and was left alone with her daughter Brooke. Years went by and Brooke grew up. All that time her mother had managed on her own to support her daughter and herself. Her husband never came into their lives again. From an early age Brooke looked for part-time jobs to help her mother. And she had one hobby that she devoted all her free time to. Brooke just adored to do costume jewelry with their own hands. Every year she perfected her skills, found interesting ways of working with materials, and in the end her products were a welcome gift of all fashionable women in the country. Brooke took pictures of her jewelry with her phone and sold them on her internet site. Her business was booming, and she switched to making jewelry. The girl expanded her staff, hired jewelers, and in 2 years she had an entire company, valued at several million. Brooke's mother was very happy with the success of her daughter, and Brooke was a caring daughter, adoring her mother who put into the child all her love and care long ago. The girl was well educated, and having a sharp mind and good business acumen, she created her own business, bringing a solid income. Brooke remembered very well that her mother never complained or asked anything of her father. She worked as a nurse and was often away from home because she was on shifts. Brooke didn't remember her father very well, but the day he left was in her memory forever. She hated that man with all her soul. He was to her a scoundrel and a traitor, who had left his family for another woman, and had never appeared in their lives since. Brooke bought her mother a nice cottage in the country, which she also liked to visit on weekends, leaving her apartment in the city. She never had a normal relationship with men. Apparently she was impacted by a huge disappointment in her father as a child. That was why Brooke had taught herself not to trust men and to keep them at a distance, not letting them into her heart and soul. For about a year she dated a man. He has long suggested that Brooke come to live with him. But the girl preferred a relationship in the format of periodic meetings without living together. Nora was very worried that her daughter would never get married or have a baby that way. And Brooke always replied that everything would come in right time. Time passed, and one day a young man named Thomas came to Brooke's office to apply for a job. He pleaded for the job, promised to try very hard, and was very nervous. Thomas explained that his father was very ill and that he needed money for an operation. Brooke was very touched by the guy's desire to help his family, and she took him on a probationary period. Thomas was overjoyed and told his family the wonderful news. His mother was very happy, because she earned a modest salary and her husband had been seriously ill for a year and could not work. Thomas needed this job to help his mother support his sick father and his little sister. He dreamed of saving up the money to perform expensive surgery on his father's joints so that he could walk normally. Thomas had a great probationary period and Brooke signed a contract with a raise. One day at the end of the workday, Thomas's mother came to the office to drop her son off for a professional development course and to see where he was working. In the lobby, she met Nora, who had just arrived to see her daughter. Their gazes stopped at each other. Nora was shocked, because Thomas's mother turned out to be the same woman who had once stolen her husband. She could not understand what she was doing here. And Thomas's mother stood in shock and didn't know where to put herself. Nora looked excellent. She was dressed in a fancy outfit, with expensive jewelry and styled hair. Thomas's mother Sharon was very inferior to Nora in her tired look and simple clothes. Nora didn't hesitate to walk over and ask what brought Sharon to her daughter's office. The woman told her that her son worked here and that Thomas's father, Nora's ex-husband, was sick and needed money for an operation. Sharon was finishing her story when Thomas came out to meet them. Brooke followed him down the hall. All four of them met. Nora introduced Brooke to Sharon and told her daughter that Thomas was her stepbrother. Brooke and Thomas were astonished. Sharon invited Brooke to visit them, but the young woman refused, because she couldn't get over her resentment of her father for so many years. So they went their separate ways. Thomas stayed to work in her business and even got a raise. Brooke tried to communicate with him as with her brother, but she didn't want to talk about their father. Thomas decided to take matters into his own hands. He loved his father too much and wanted to help him in any way he could. He did not hesitate to invite Brooke to dinner at a restaurant, having arranged with the father that he should prepare to meet his daughter. The girl came at the appointed time. As she came to the table she saw a gray-haired man with a cane in his hands, and of course, her newfound brother Thomas. Out of fear she wanted to turn around and leave, but her father managed to stop her with his words. He said very loudly, "I'm sorry," and then cried bitterly. Brooke couldn't stand it and cried back. The person she wanted to see the least in the world was now standing in front of her. He was the one who had left her mother for Sharon. And not even once he had congratulated her on her birthday in all those years. But her father had his reasons. He asked her to down and listen to him until the end. The father apologized for a long time, and explained that he understood he was guilty before her and her mother, but he realized everything and regretted that it had happened that way. And now he would never have dared to meet Brooke, so it was only thanks to Thomas that they met. Brooke calmed down. The three of them talked for a long time that night. After a while, her daughter forgave her father, and they began to communicate and see each other. Her mother Nora supported her daughter and explained that children shouldn't have to suffer for their parents' mistakes. Finally, Brooke paid for the expensive surgery.